I'm going to tell you something you're probably not even realizing. You are lucky right now, and you just don't feel it. The only time you actually will is when something is taken away from you. I never realized how much of a privilege it was to consume oxygen. I've been sick recently, and I've never realized how good I normally feel. And I'm being a big baby, I had a sinus infection, right? And I talked to my grandpa, and he has cancer right now. And, it really puts into perspective how small your problems really are. Because what I was going through was nothing. Something I cannot recommend enough is something you might not expect. Get an awful job. Clean toilets, do something, go in the sewers, just something absolutely awful. Something where you'll have to go in a porta potty for your bathroom breaks. Anything that's just purely awful, something you'll absolutely hate. And you might be thinking, why would I do something I hate? Well, just like we're talking about, it gives you perspective. There's been a time in my life where I was working night shifts, working 12 hours straight, pushing boards, like wooden boards through a machine from the 18th century, I swear. And, I'd do that every single day in a non-air conditioned warehouse. And honestly, I hated it. I really, really hated it. I just didn't even want to do it anymore. I couldn't even get myself motivated to go to work. It was that bad. Another time, I worked at a factory. No one spoke English. No one spoke English at all. Not even my manager. He spoke Cambodian. And I hated that even more because it was like an assembly line. It was straight labor. It was just awful. And my arms would hurt. My whole body would hurt. But all those things give me constant perspective. You see this a lot in people who end up recovering from addiction or anything awful. They hit rock bottom and that's when they build up. And why is that the case? Because when you're at the absolute bottom, there's nothing left to lose. And so it gives you a complete place of freedom to make change. Because a lot of people have this idea, this expectation of themselves in their mind that they are this thing and they keep on identifying and they go to the downward descent until they hit the bottom. And that's when they get free from that perception because there's nowhere left to go but up. And ideally, you'll never have to get to that point to get the perspective that you need. But it is something that's a very common pattern. Today, I only slept 1 hour. And I could actually, hold up, let me go check my, I wear a smartwatch. Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd. Let me check exactly. I slept 1 hour and 16 minutes. And I could be absolutely miserable today, right? I could be making this day absolutely awful. But instead, I'm making the most of it. In the morning, I was like, oh, this is awful. I'm tired. I didn't get enough sleep and I couldn't even fall back asleep. But there's this trap we often get ourselves caught in where we feel like the day needs to be perfect for us to do anything. Oftentimes we'll be like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep, so I'm going to take it easy today just so I can make it through the day and blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, my sleep schedule's messed up, so I need to stay awake. So I'm going to watch TV for the next 10 hours to keep myself awake. And it's just like, you do that perpetually and it happens over and over and over again until eventually you find out that you're just nothing in life. And it's no way to live. I don't think any single person wants to wake up one day and be like, wow, I am absolutely nobody. I did nothing. And I feel like that's what happens when you forget how blessed you truly are. I know quite a bit of people who lost their parents when they were very young. And so there's a lot of things you can be lucky for and very much blessed. And on a real note, we're not put on this earth to just consume stuff all the time. We were meant to create. If you really look at things from a lens of like human evolution, you always built something. You could be a blacksmith, you could be someone who builds shelters, you could be all these things, right? And there was never a single person that just consumed. And there was a single person that kind of did that, but they were a leader, they were a ruler, they were a king, And most of us are not kings, let's be real. Our frame of reference often messes with our perspective, One big benchmarker is health, as we were talking about earlier. When you're sick, suddenly everything else doesn't matter. Oh, your school assignments, they're secondary thought. Oh, your job, okay, you might have to call off. Your health is your main baseline of reference. But this happens in a lot of different perspectives, like social media amplifies this one a lot. Oh, I'm way behind because that guy he's shredded, and that guy, he's rich, and I am some random dude, and I don't have all this money, and I'm not in the best shape, and it's like, it's all about your frame of reference. And let me show you how easily this can be messed up. So let me ask you some questions, right? I'm gonna have you say if this is possible or not, or likely or not. So tell me, is it likely that 250 people will die in a flood in America in the next year? You might think probably not. But what if I said, is it likely that 250 people in California are likely to die after an earthquake that causes a flood? You'd probably say, oh yeah, it's more likely. It's because you suddenly have causation. And once you have that reference point, it dictates your judgment on it. And that dictation is exactly where problems lie. You have reference points and you completely demolish your own perspective with them. You can do this in a good way, you can do it in a bad way, but most of us do it in a bad way. You see this with a lot of things like, why do girls wear makeup? Because their frame of reference is everyone else does it, the media shows it. Why do guys feel the need to hustle, and work out, all this? Of course, it's probably healthier than other things, but it's the same exact concept because they feel like they're falling behind. And the funny thing is all that actually does is make them fall behind because it's a stress loop, right? As long as you feel like you're being defeated, and as long as you feel like you're behind, you're going to be behind because you're stressing out about it. I think YouTube's a brilliant game to display this because oftentimes what happens on a YouTube career is that you'll have a viral video and you'll see your analytical charts skyrocket. Things will go to the moon, and obviously they're going to drop because what goes up must come back down, and suddenly you have that high and then you have a low. And so as long as you're dictated by that reference point, you will forever be miserable. You know, I have had this happen on my other channel. You know, I'd have videos hitting 6-figure views all the time, and then suddenly when it drops down really bad, it's just like, what's the point of this? Even though way back in the past, I would be so happy with that. You know, I'd have a video that would get like 10,000 views, 20,000 views, and I'd be like, what's even the point of doing this anymore? But then if I had that when I started, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's a miracle. And you know, what changed? Your baseline of reference is the perspective. And it's obviously there is a good reason to have that concern and worry, but it often is very much self-destructive because the most powerful influence in this whole world towards anything you want is perseverance. And this is why you see dumb people get rich, because it has nothing to do with intelligence, it has nothing to do with skill. It's just purely about going at it so hard that it's literally going to work because you just don't give up. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I'd rather be a dedicated idiot than a super genius who questions himself. And so whenever you're feeling negative or you're beating yourself up over something, really question where you're referencing your baseline of reality and question if it's really worthwhile, because you might be more lucky than you realize. And I mean, if you're watching this video, that means you have some type of technology to watch this. And that's a real good thing to have, right? Because not everyone has that. And so if you have it, you're already doing better than most of the world. So just remember, you're much more lucky than you'll ever know. And I think we all have to be more grateful for what we have, because I think the second we lose that gratitude, it's just the start of the downward spiral. Because, you know, you lose your perseverance the second you lose your motive to actually achieve that thing. You know, it's all about keeping the positive mindset and realizing that you might not always be using the proper mindset to get where you need.